Welcome to Chemistry Simplified. In today's presentation, we'll continue to look at Lewis structures, how to draw Lewis structures. And this is part 2, so it would be useful for you to review part 1 before you move forward and watch part 2. Our first example, draw the Lewis structure for nitrate ion. We need to find the number of electrons that we have available. And we use the formula group number times the number of atoms. So we bring the periodic table and we can see that nitrogen is in group 5A, and we only have one nitrogen. So 5 times 1 gives us 5 electrons. So nitrogen provides 5 electrons. Oxygen is in group 6A, and nitrate ion has 3 oxygen. So we say 6 times 3 gives us 18 electrons. So oxygen we have 3 oxygen together providing 18 electrons. Total electrons is 5 electrons from the nitrogen and 18 from the 3 oxygen. Plus we have 1 electron from the ion. Remember, it's nitrate ion. So nitrate ion has a charge of -1, so that provides us with an extra electrons. So together we have 24 electrons. To draw the Lewis structure, we need to place the least electronegative atom in the middle. And let's look at the electronegativity value for each atom. So oxygen has a 3.5 value, whereas nitrogen is 3. So nitrogen is least electronegative. So nitrogen should go in the middle. Next, we need to draw a single bond between the atom in the middle and the other atoms, meaning that we need to draw a single bond between nitrogen and each oxygen. We know that each bond has 2 electrons, meaning that this bond here represents 2 electrons, each one of them. Next, we need to place lone pair electrons on each atom to ensure they all fulfill the octet rules. Remember, atoms share their electrons in order to fulfill the octet rule. So this oxygen already has 2 electrons with it sharing with the nitrogen, so we need to add 6 more. Now this oxygen fulfills the octet rule. We're going to do the same for each oxygen. Nitrogen already has 6 electrons because it has 3 bonds. We know that each bond provides 2 electrons, so for a total of 6 electrons so far. So we need to add 2 more electrons around the nitrogen. All right. When we count the electrons, we found 26 electrons that we have added, but we needed only 24, so we have 2 electrons extra. So we need to remove 2 electrons from the central atom, from the nitrogen. So we remove those 2 electrons. But nitrogen still need to fulfill the octet rule because it only has 6 electrons because we removed the 2 unshared electrons. So we need to take a lone pair from one of the oxygen in order to form a double bond with the nitrogen. We take 2 electrons here and we share them with the nitrogen. And there's the double bond. Now every atom fulfills the octet rule. So this is example number 1. Let's take a look at one more example. Draw the Lewis structure for cyanide ion. Let's look for the number of electrons we have available. We'll bring the table. Carbon is in group 4A, and we only have one carbon, so for 4 electrons. Oxygen is in group 6A. We have one oxygen. 6 times 1 gives us a total of 6 electrons. And nitrogen is in group 5A. We also have one nitrogen, so 5 times 1 gives us 5 electrons. Together, 4 electrons from carbon, 6 electrons from oxygen, and 5 electrons from the nitrogen. But we need to remember it's cyanide ion, so we have an ion, so we have to add 1 more electrons because of the -1 charge which cyanide has. So we have a total of 16 electrons. Now we need to know which atom is the least electronegative, so we could place it in the middle. So let's look at the value for the electronegativity values. Oxygen 3.5, carbon 2.5, and nitrogen is 3. So carbon is the least electronegative. So we place carbon in the middle. Next, we need to draw single bonds between the carbon and nitrogen and oxygen. We need to place lone pair electrons on each atoms to make sure they fulfill the octet rule. And carbon already has 4 bonds. It has 2 bonds but 4 electrons, I should say. So we need to add 4 more electrons to carbon. So 2, 2, 2. Right? So 4 1-pair electrons. So everybody has 8 electrons so far, fulfilling the octet rule. However, we needed only 16 electrons and we added 20. So we have to remove 4 electrons around the central atom. So we move these 2 electrons here and another 2. Carbon still needs to fulfill the octet rule because we remove those 4 electrons. So we need to use lone pairs from the nitrogen to form double bond with the carbon. We take these 2 unshared electrons to form a double bond between nitrogen and carbon. So we need to take another lone pair from the nitrogen to form a triple bond with the carbon. Why? Because carbon only has 6 electrons, so it needs to have 2 more. So we take 2 more electrons from the nitrogen, form a double bond with the carbon. Now carbon is happy, nitrogen is happy, and oxygen is also happy. So everybody is happy because they all fulfill the octet rule. Now you might be saying, why didn't it choose electrons around the oxygen to form a double bond with the carbon? We'll talk more about this in future presentation where we will discuss resonance structure and formal charge, because this structure that we have here is the most stable one. Okay, so this is the end of our presentation. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and use the comment section to let us know if you had found the presentation to be useful. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.